What's going on, guys? It's snowing again. Finn's having a good time. But today we're gonna be talking about a little segment I like to call But It Works. So, But It Works is gonna be just kind of me talking about things that maybe are in my creative process that aren't the best, aren't really working all that well, but they work. And that's the important part. You don't always have to have the best gear, the best, most expensive stuff to still make good content, get good clips, whatever you want to do. Not even in just filmmaking, in anything. If it works for you, it works. That's the important part. So let's get to it. That's too dark. Let me take this off. Much better. Long hair. So once again, guys, But It Works is gonna be this little segment where I show you things about my creative process that maybe aren't the perfect solution for any kind of problem you're having in your creation of whatever kind of content you're doing, but they work. So first up, we have this Nikkor 85mm 1.8 lens. I love this lens. It's probably one of my favorite lenses I own. Now, the reason why this is kinda janky, kinda messed up is I got this lens, I think I got this lens right before I went to Alaska, so like 2 years ago? Was that 2 years ago? Ooh, time flies. But when I got this lens, obviously it is not a Canon, even though I have that Canon back cap on it. It is a Nikkor lens, so obviously it's not going to fit on my Canon body just outright. You need an adapter. And there's a lot of adapters out there, some more expensive and have more features, some have the electronics that can talk to each other and talk from the lens to the camera, and those do get more expensive. But there are cheaper adapters that do work just as well. I have had this little, can you hear that? It shakes around on the back base plate here. And it's literally just a little like pin that hangs onto the back of this lens. The other reason I think it's kind of jank is that is the size of the thread. It's a 62mm thread for the actual housing. And then I have this lens hood on there because that's the only thing that I have a lens cap for. So as of right now, I don't have a lens cap for it like this, so the hood stays on. I mean, just look at that glass. Like, that is some nice looking glass right there. Wide open aperture 1.8. Not as wide open as you could get with like a 1.4 or a 1.2, obviously. I think for really all intents and purposes, a 1.8 is just fine. The other thing about this lens, a lot of times, even if a lens is not a vintage lens, but it's a off-brand from what your camera body is, unless you have, like I said, one of those electronic adapters that has the capability to talk to the camera body, a lot of times the autofocus isn't going to work, or if it does work, it's not as perfect as it would be with a first-party lens. Personally, I do a lot of manual focusing anyway for my video work. If you're not doing a lot of manual focusing, I would highly suggest just turning off autofocus for a bit and just trying to nail focus. It really, really improves your game, and it opens up a whole new realm of kind of possibilities for you in terms of how creative you can be with your shots. Get good at manual focusing. Sometimes janky lenses can do that and help you out there. So big fan of this guy. I always have him in my kit. 85mm Nikkor 1.8. Now, one more thing I'm going to show you guys today that is part of my janky setup, but is something I almost always keep in my bag, is this guy. Now, this beefy boy lens is the Canon 70-200. This is the Mark I 2.8 with image stabilization. But the reason why this lens is the But It Works category is because of this. You see that? Yeah, that's scary. So the the top of this lens, kind of right on this seam right here, is, frankly, I don't know 100% what's wrong with it. I got this off a old coworker of mine who was just trying to get rid of it because CPS, Canon Pro Services, doesn't service the Mark I anymore. Any of those like professional big white lenses, you know they come with a hefty price tag. I knew that the autofocus wasn't really working too well on this, which, like I said, I manual focus a lot of my stuff anyway, so I went for it. Bought a really nice lens on the really cheap side of things, and it's worked out. Now, it is a bit janky because if you can see in some footage here, it does have trouble nailing focus sometimes. It can be a bit soft. Really, I kind of like that sometimes. You know, there are circumstances where I find myself wishing I could really nail focus, especially with a lens with this much range on it. Eventually, I am going to upgrade this guy, but for all intents and purposes right now, for me, I kind of like the little softer look it gets sometimes, especially at a distance. If you're shooting in any kind of fog too, it can kind of lend itself to that style. It does the job, and that's the important part. Sometimes, even though it doesn't have tack sharp focus anymore, this guy can still get some really, really cool shots with that soft focus, that dreamy feel, and just really treats me right sometimes. But guys, that just goes to show you gotta work with the stuff you have. You're not always gonna have super expensive, top of the line, brand new, just came out, just released gear. And just because you have that stuff doesn't mean you're gonna be any better of a photographer or a filmmaker. It's a tool at the end of the day, and you're the creative mind behind it, and that is the most important part in my opinion. And just for the record, guys, this is no way me telling you to go buy broken lenses or lenses that don't fit your camera. I've been able to find a look and style that suits me and I enjoy making through the limitations placed on me by the gear I have, which to me is pretty cool. I feel like I wouldn't think about creating the same way if I was always creating with, you know, the best possible gear, if I was shooting on red cameras and cine lenses all the time and wasn't forced to really kind of take a step back and make do with what I have. I think, at least for me, the creative process would be much different. But guys, that's about all I have for you today. Remember, just because you have gear that's not quite up to date or maybe is a little broken, doesn't mean you can't utilize it and make something cool. Be creative, keep thinking of new ways to approach projects, keep an open mind, keep pushing yourself creatively, and sometimes purposeful limitations on your creativity are not a bad thing. They can really just send you to the next level and keep the gears turning. But guys, that's about all the time I have for today. If you did like this video, it helps me out if you're hitting that like button. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate you still being here. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. I got more videos coming out. And don't forget to hit that notification bell next to subscribe so you can get notifications when I upload new videos. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Adam Swanson. This is Swanson Films. I'll see you next time. Bye.